Caterina, and thanks for coming with me on a new art adventure today. And we're back home from Fort Collins from our show and class, and excited to be talking to you today about natural dyes. And I've got a few tricks and things to show you and to share with you some techniques. But first I want to thank you for all your thumbs up, your subscriptions, all of your likes and shares. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And now I'm going to get started and share with you a few techniques. To begin with, I used Khadi paper, and that's in my link, so if you're interested in getting that, you can just click the link for Khadi. And I love Khadi paper because it is has a really high rag content. It's really easy to stitch, and it takes natural dyes so well. And so I decided to concentrate on using just 3 different dyes. I decided to use blackberry and beets and pomegranates. And so they came out in a wide array of colors, which I found really fascinating. These are all soaked in the dyes right as they came out when it was warm or hot. And as you can see, that as it cooled, the pomegranate cooled down to a really light color, which I found really interesting. Okay, first I want to share with you my recipe for doing it. It's basically 1 cup of water, and then just chop up the fruit. Cut the beets into pieces, cut the blackberries into slices, throw them in, and then throw the pomegranates into the water. And don't boil them too long. You want to boil it for about 5 minutes and then just let it sit. And what I do is, I just put them in containers so that the dye I hope you can see that, the dye just gets stronger as you let it sit. And I know we talked about this in my other videos on natural dyes, so you can see the beets, and those are great for making spots. And when I first start out, this is really, it dyes your fingers, so I usually wear gloves. When I first start out, I usually take the fresh fruit or veg and make marks on the paper. This is beetroot, and this is blackberry slices, and these are pomegranates. I know this looks like it was a bloodbath, but so I put the pomegranate pieces down, put another piece of paper on top of it, which is this one, and then smushed it, which is a really highly technical art term. I smushed it down, and it got a wonderful splatter. And then I waited a day, and then I went back and I washed it with water, so it came out this wonderful tie-dye effect. So it's really cool. That's a really fun tip. So make sure you do that first before you even get started with the dye bath, okay? But poking the papers into the first hot dye bath will get you a really nice bright color. The other thing you can do to get a great effect is to just take the hot fruit out and just swirl it on the paper. This is blackberries on paper on the Khadi, and these are beets. So you just take them out, they're still hot, just kind of move them around, and it gives you a wonderful pattern as well. Here's a really fun technique that I thought you would like, and it is simply painting papers with milk and letting it dry, and then dyeing your papers. And it intensifies, rather than being a resist, it intensifies the colors, and it's just really fun. So I'm just going to show you. It's just super easy. You just pour a little bit of milk into the container, use a brush, and then paint whatever you want on your paper. I use squiggly lines and dots, and you can use different kinds of brushes to do it. And then you simply set it aside and let it dry. And I let it dry for several days, and it's just a wonderful technique. And I'm going to show you what the color looks like right now. So I'm just painting the Khadi paper that I have previously painted with milk, and then we're going to set that and let that dry. And what's going to happen is that the milk will, the dye will intensify wherever we painted the milk, so we'll be able to see the design come out, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Okay, so I don't know if you've ever thought about using the resist technique with natural dyes, but think about it. I used this rubber stamp, and so I just coated the stamp with the gel medium and then pressed it and then left it to dry. And I also used a toothbrush, which gave this really great rough texture to the paper, and then naturally dyed it. And it's just really fun to play with. I love how this came out. It didn't come out super clear because the back got wet, and so it colored the paper on the back side, which kind of came through. So we're going to try it. I've got another one here that I stamped, and so I'm going to try it with the beat die and see how that turns out. So we're going to try that right now. Okay, so you can start to see the heart come through, and beat die will really get your fingers, so I'm trying to keep it off of my hands without putting my gloves on. But anyway, you get the idea. So I mean, the sky's the limit with this technique. Resists are just so much fun. And let me wash this off so I can show you. So just play with it, have a really good time. You can use a pencil tip, you can do all kinds of really fun things with this technique. Okay, the last thing I want to share with you, first of all, here's the pomegranate color with the milk technique on Khadi paper. And I really love this like light orange color. So the last thing I want to share with you is mix your colors. So this is the pomegranate and blackberry together, and then beet and blackberry. So put your dye baths together and come up with these outrageously wonderful colors. And I love the swirls. I mean, it looks tie-dyed, and all I did was just dye it, just dip it in there. Now, I know people are going to ask me what to do with these papers, and so my favorite thing to do is to just create a book and put them together. And this is a cardboard book I made, and I stitched this by hand, which I know a lot of people don't like to do. But anyway, these are some of the papers that I made from one of the other dye videos. After the dye video, I made so many papers, and so I decided to create this book. This was with avocado pits and turmeric, and there were a lot of onion skins, and then the pressing, and I love this turmeric on the paper. So I just put them together in a book, and the reason I did that is because they are going to fade, and I know I had talked to you about doing some experiments, which all turned out not to work for reasons that I won't go into now, but I realized I'm a mixed media artist and not a mixed media scientist, and so I'm not very good at that kind of thing, keeping track of things and recording. So anyway, putting them in a book will keep the integrity of the color, keep them color fast. The other thing that I did was I ironed them, which heat set them to a degree, but the ones on the cover still look really good. So anyway, so try that and see what you think. Okay, so this is still drying, and as it dries it will get darker and you'll be able to see the spots, but try it. It's really fun, it's really easy to do, and so is this technique. And then I love just putting the fruit on the pages, and this one especially, just yummy. Don't you think they're yummy? Well, we're at Ciao for now, and I had a lot of fun dyeing papers these last 2 weeks and playing with the techniques, and I hope you give it a try and let me know about the results. And you can tag me on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you are, and I can't wait to hear from you. So until then, ciao ciao. And now I'm going to get started and show you what I've found. Cut.